Let your hands relax. As the belly goes soft and we breathe using our belly, let us pay attention to the breath. Feeling the breath come in, we notice that. Feeling the breath go out, we notice that. Feeling the breath come in, we notice. It becomes the focus of our attention. Now let us bring a focus to the breath. Let it be in the heart chakra in the center of the chest. Let each breath go into this heart, and with each breath let there be more energy in the heart. We are awakening the energy of love and acceptance. As we continue to breathe into the heart, let us feel an expansion of our energy of love and acceptance. Let it fill the body. Let the body feel like a heart. And now let the whole body radiate love and acceptance into the room. Joining the radiance of others, we begin to fill the room with love and acceptance. And now with each breath, let us breathe in love and acceptance. And breathe out love, acceptance. As we sit together in holy silence.
Give us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive. To go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me, free like me. Lord, we are your love. Lord, we are your peace. Lord, we are your joy this day.
Great musicians, fun to sing Christmas carols this time of year, and we're going to do it again tonight if you missed today. But if you want to come back, we're having a candlelight service at 5:30 tonight. That service is short; it's about 45 minutes. In that service, we sing a lot of songs, and we also read the Bible story, and we bless children, and we light candles. So now that you've heard all of that, if you want to be there, we would love to have you there. It's one of the sweet events of the year. I look forward to it. Usually it doesn't land on Sunday, but if you will come back, I think you'll enjoy it. I also want to tell you that this week's on joy, if you haven't figured that out yet. So let me start with a couple of jokes. Yeah, this never goes that well, really. Let's start with a couple of dad jokes. How does the ocean say hello? It waves, right. What did one eye say to the other eye? Between us, something smells. There we go. And just for me today, what did the DNA say to the other DNA? You know, do these genes make me look fat, right? Or what does a dyslexic, agnostic, insomniac do at night? He stays up wondering if there really is a dog. This is my favorite, though, and it's not a dad joke. This is a little tricky. Jean-Paul Sartre is sitting in a French cafe, revising his draft of Being and Nothingness. He says to the waitress, "I'd like a cup of coffee, please, with no cream." The waitress replies, "I'm sorry, monsieur, but we are out of cream. How about with no milk?" Or I could tell you the one about Einstein. Einstein does so many lectures, he can't stand it. So he's riding there, and his chauffeur says to him, "You know, boss, I've heard you do your lecture so many times. Why don't I do it when you just sit back?" Well, the guy looked a lot like Einstein, so they traded clothes. Einstein put on the chauffeur's cap and sat in the back of the audience. And the chauffeur got up and did a perfect rendition of what Einstein would say, and even answered questions, because he'd heard them all, you know, except for this one professor stands up and, wishing to look so erudite and like he's nobody's fool, asked the most complicated and deep question, a question that this chauffeur had never heard. And the chauffeur said, "That's a very good question, but it's so simple. It's so basic. I'm going to let my chauffeur answer it." All right, let's talk about, I want to talk about something that's not actually usually thought of directly as a Christmas theme, but enough of Christmas. I want to talk about this idea of your place in the universe and the nature of the universe. And I'm going to start by contrasting a couple of ways of looking at it. The first is the one that most Judeo-Christians are aware of, all Muslims are also aware of, is this idea of the story in Genesis where God takes clay and makes a person and then breathes breath into it. And so there is a maker and a made. There is a artifact that is the human being. And the human being is not at one with the maker. It's quite different. It's separate. It's altogether different. Does that make sense? You are a thing. It's called the ceramic model of creation. Now there's another one, and that comes out of the East, and it's essentially one in India that says that Brahman, the divine, has a dream. And in that dream, there are vibrations or stories or things that happen. And in those dreams, all the worlds are created. And when Brahman wakes up, they all go away. So the dream model. And then in some cultures, it's a little bit different in essentially that it's an emanation, that we emanate out of God. We come out of God. We are out of this divine, holy, creative aspect. We are expressions of it. And there is a continuum from the origin to the present. You might consider it sort of like the Big Bang Theory, and essentially that it's all one big thing happening at once. And as we're projected out into the world, things unfold as time unfolds, and where it has gotten to the point is where we are right now in time. And the outcropping of the universe, the present moment, most interesting aspect of the universe is you. That you are not actually a product of the universe so much as you are an expression of the universe. And on this distinction may ride a very fundamental question: is this a friendly universe, and do I belong here? Because if it is that you are an expression of the universe, then everything about you is belonging to this universe now, and you're not weirdly placed here, you're not thrown here, you're not some stranger, you're not the opposite of nature, you are nature. You are not separate from the creative process, you're just the expression of it. You are the final, not the final, but the present moment, most interesting thing so far. At least in our minds, we're the most interesting. But we are not anything other than a continuation of this creative process. Meaning that while we walk on the earth, we are not like strangers walking on the earth. We are the earth expressing itself as us. That the nature of our very being, our physical being, is an expression of the earth itself. And that this constant thought that most of us have that grew up with the ceramic model is that we are in some ways possibly against nature, or not supported by nature, or not really at home here. That our world, may be hostile to us, and we may have to fight against it, and we may have to be the one who imposes our will on it, and we may not be really loved and accepted in all of this. But if you take a different point of view, read into the facts of life a different myth, then in this myth you are the one who is the further expression of the Big Bang. That from the very beginning to this very moment, the same creative process has been going on, and your existence is not contrary to the existence of everything, but the confirmation of the ongoing process of unfolding. And consciousness, now we'll bracket that. Let me come back to that. And your physical body belongs here. Meaning you're an outgrowth of the soil, the sun, the plants, the animals, all of that. It all fits together. And you fit here as much as that tree outside, as much as the grass or the stars or space. Let's come to space. Now, one of the things about space is that it's the negative that we don't see. Typically, we don't see space. Do you know what I mean? We see objects within space. We count space as just kind of like that, which is separate from the thing, the distance maybe, but we don't see in terms of space. Now, some artists do. Some artists see in negative space. It's how they paint or draw. But most of us look at the objects. And I don't know if you've ever tracked your own consciousness, but when your own consciousness is focused like this, it's object only that we are paying attention to. Have you noticed how you can become obsessed about a thing or a person or even a single thought? You can become, and the mind begins to close in, and it lacks spaciousness, right? It lacks spaciousness. And in some times, the mind has been compared to space itself. That within space, there are the objects of the universe, but also within your mind are the objects of the universe. Your mind is space in a certain sense. And so this interesting thing is that you, as a being, you belong here, but as a consciousness, you are the context also in which all of this exists. I'll work at this a little differently. Take another aspect of it. Consider your mind as a black box. Consider your brain as inside this box, and you have never even seen it. You think you have one because people tell you so, but you've never seen your brain. These images that are showing up on the screen inside your, whatever it is, inside that black box, you've never seen how that's done either. What you have just seen are the images. And you assume that there's a you here, a separate you that is seeing that. You think of yourself as a doer of the seeing, like I'm seeing you, right? But perhaps there's no proof of that. It's just it's a convention that we've all accepted. Now I am actually going somewhere with this. Another way of flipping your mind open is to go, let's say there is no head here seeing this. Let's just assume for the moment that since I have never seen my head directly, maybe in a mirror, maybe in a picture, but let's discount that. Let's say since you've never directly seen it, it doesn't exist. No use, no fair use in your hands. just assume because you don't see it, it doesn't exist. So what do you see? You still see everything. You just have it replacing your head. Now, I've tried to describe this to several groups in the past, and most of the time I feel like I get nowhere. But this is Christmas Eve, and this would be a great present to yourself if you could get this. That if you could begin to see as though you had no head, you become spaciousness itself. Because the whole of existence, as far as you can see, is inside your awareness, right? It really is. It is inside your awareness, is it not? Whatever you see. And if you become the space that holds that awareness, then you begin to shift from being an object to being the space that holds it. And you shift from not belonging, not being you, to being in you. And you will hear gurus talk about, I see the whole world inside myself. And you could jump there today if you will make this little mental shift. Flip it from looking as looking out, become the space in which all of this is happening. It's a trip. You can flip back at any moment. But if you become the space in which it all happens, and you realize that all this is connected to you because it is inside you, and it's not so much others, but you, we have hit the second way of thinking about yourself, that you belong in this world as it is. That you're okay, that you're accepted. You're deeper than that. You are it. You are it. Now, most of us, now I'm having to go very fast because we have a very busy day today. We're doing communion. But we're going to do communion to celebrate not so much a sin salvation paradigm, but to celebrate the communion of us, the union of all of us. To bring all of us into this place where we see, no matter how we trick ourselves to drop out of our practice mythology of a ceramic model of the universe, instead we become part of the universe itself. And the universe is inside you as well. And there is only one thing here. Now, thingness in itself is a convention of mind, not a truth. We say the tree is over there, and the tree is not the soil, but is that really true? Can there be a tree without the soil? Can there be a tree without the sun? Can there be an object without a background? It's all connected. And so our job in awakening to a new myth is to go, okay, well, maybe I wasn't made by something other, but I am an expression of it. And maybe that world that seems other out there is really going on inside of me. And maybe another third way of getting this point across is, consider your consciousness like a headlamp on your car. And it can shine it in this direction. But it ignores the fact that there's a whole car behind it. There's an engine and a battery and all of that, and the wires, et cetera, et cetera. And so it is with your physiological self. You have all this mechanism that's going on, and you have nothing to do with it. Have you noticed? You don't tell your heart to breathe. You don't tell your skin to slough off. You don't digest food with your mind. It just happens. All of this is happening for you by something that is connecting you to all that is, and you are not all that separate. You belong in this world. You belong, and the world belongs in you. And you are not so different than the world itself, nor the world so different than you. And when we get to Jesus now, we have somebody who goes, you know, I think I'm that thing. I'm that we have been talking about forever. I think I am that. And what I'm trying to say is, with these three analogies, so are you. You are that. The that people have been seeking, you are that. The Christ, the Godhead, the whatever you want to call it, the Brahman, that's who you are. And the awakening process is the bringing this into conscious awareness such that you can live from there. And live in a world that's safe. Live in a world that you belong. Live in a world where love is the currency and not the exception. This is the purpose of this short but complicated idea I put out there, which is that all of this is you. And you may be thinking, I'm just a headlight, but not really. Or you may be thinking, I'm just my head, but not really only. And you may think I'm just an object, but no, you're also the space in which it all happens. It's a mystery for sure. And it doesn't come naturally to us in the West. But is it true? And might it be time for us to change the way we see the world? So that nature is not the object, but part of us. That the other person is not separate, but part of us. That the earth itself and all the sky and all the heaven is reflected in us as us. Wouldn't that be a trip? Okay, there we go.